My name is Karen Harrison. I'm the Service Development Manager for ALD Life. I've worked for ALD Life for approximately 3 years. I'm also a carrier of ALD, adrenoleukodystrophy, and I have 3 sons. I have identical twins who have ALD. Alexander sadly lost his fight in 2004, and Cameron's now 20, but he's very severely disabled. And my other son, Glen, hasn't got the gene. My identical twin sons were diagnosed in 2002 at the age of 6. Alexander was diagnosed first. He was too symptomatic for any treatment. Then we looked to Cameron. If they were identical twins, then he definitely had the gene. If they weren't, then there was a chance he didn't. So Cameron then was tested, and we found out a month later that he did have ALD. Wasn't showing any symptoms at this point. So he was diagnosed on the 4th of November. By the 11th of November, we were at Bristol Children's Hospital seeing Professor Colin Stewart to see whether we should have a bone marrow transplant for Cameron. The first things they do with bone marrow transplant is you have a Hickman line put in, which is a line for them to put all the chemo and medicines in. It saves you kind of constantly being stuck with needles. And they also do a bone marrow harvest, which is kind of your insurance policy, says that if all went wrong, they would give you back your own bone marrow. There was no time to find an unrelated donor for Cameron, so my husband was his donor, and it's called a haploidentical stem cell transplant. All parents are a half match to their children, and somehow the doctors make it fit. That was the phrase they used. No idea how they make it fit, but they do. So Cameron embarked on, I think it was 10 days of conditioning of chemotherapy, went into isolation and prepared to receive the bone marrow transplant, or the stem cell transplant as it was. You think it's going to be really exciting, but actually, to all intents and purposes, it looks like a bag of blood going in. But you know, it is a big day because you know that that could well stop the devastation of ALD. So that all went well. Over the next kind of week to sort of 10 days, you would hope to start seeing blood counts start kind of picking up a tiny bit. Unfortunately, Cameron's didn't. We were getting round to kind of 2 weeks post having the cells put in, and his counts were still pretty flat. So basically it was deemed that he hadn't taken the transplant, it basically failed. So Cameron had the second transplant at the beginning of January, which within 8 days his count started to come back up, which was fantastic news. Cameron now is very severely disabled. He's blind, he's deaf, can't speak, he's tube-fed, he's in a wheelchair, has the most amazing laugh, and is still very, very happy. But obviously it wasn't the outcome that we were hoping for. I've been asked in the past, do I regret giving Cameron a transplant? Absolutely not. If we hadn't done the transplant, we would have always been wondering, well, what if he'd had the transplant? He wouldn't be like this now. I think the transplant also brought us an extra couple of years of quality of life for Cameron. It definitely slowed, compared to his twin brother Alex, it definitely slowed down the path of the disease, and I think he's in a probably better state than if we just let ALD take its course. Just try and stay positive, even on the bad days. Try and stay positive, and hopefully, the end result will be what you want it to be.